This week on the Beyond Worlds podcast, this Beyond Worlds book review, we are going over Robin Hobbs' Assassin's Apprentice. Personally, a book I love. So come find out more.
So yeah, it's the third episode of the Beyond Worlds Book Club, and do stick around to the end to find out what episode 4 will be. So thank you for joining us.
In another world.
Welcome back to the Beyond Worlds podcast. I am Beyond Joe.
And I am Stephen in the cupboard.
Stephen
Well, I'm half in the cupboard. I'm not fully in the cupboard.
Stephen Potter.
It's a nice cupboard, though.
The invite to Hogwarts is on the way, sir.
I'm above the stairs. At least I'm above the stairs.
Well, new room.
Welcome to my office.
Yeah.
There's a box and there's a bed.
Bless
And
you.
There you go.
It's the start. It's always a process moving house, right? This is the start.
Oh, yeah.
This is the
to be
interim
fair,
period.
All I'm going to do is put up some Gundams.
Gunpla.
Yeah, I'm super happy. I found the V-fin for Astray. I put it in a separate thing, and I put him up there. And I was like, oh, where the fuck's the V-fin? I'm not sure I put it in here. Where is it? And I resigned myself, so that's why I put it right at the top. No, I put it down a bit, but...
Nice. Yeah, that V-fin always fell off for me. Always fell off. I need to put some little cement in there.
Yeah.
Secure it. But this week we're not talking about Gunpla. This week it is the third episode of Beyond Worlds Book Club, or is it fourth? Third.
We've
Third.
done Final Empire, Dungeon Crawler, and now we have done the Assassin's Apprentice.
Yes.
Well, we will have done the Assassin's Apprentice.
We've read it. We read Assassin's Apprentice. You read it again. I read it for the first time. I'm excited to talk about it.
Good. Just to start, overall, did you enjoy it? Did you not enjoy it? What?
Overall, I really, really enjoyed it. More than I expected to when I started, based off of superficial things like the back of the book and the little bit I'd heard about it, and maybe like that intro sort of little bit where the main character sort of is introduced, and I was like, and I was like, I don't know how, because the one thing that I did have in my head as well, and the only thing I had in my head from it, is that you said this is from the main character's perspective, and that the whole book series will follow this character, and so I was very much had that in my head, like this is very much an introduction. Let's see how it goes. So, yeah,
and that's true. The whole book one is just an introduction to Fitz and the world, basically. It doesn't even introduce you to the world, really.
No,
you get like an introduction to Buckkeep, because which is the main the castle that everyone lives in. It is a slow burner book. It's more of a character book. It's more about the characters. It's about the story, but it's about the characters in the story more than the story itself. But then it is also about the bigger story.
Because, when I put the book down, I had a very strange feeling, and I made sure to make a little note of it, because I was like, I really want to bring this up early when we're chatting about it. And I haven't felt this way about a piece of fantasy in this way. I walked away being like, I feel like I read a real person's autobiography, even though it wasn't a real story. The way it was told was so real. So
that's because the way it's written is actually very, very clever. So at the start of each book, you get 2-3 pages, maybe like 4 or 5, which is modern day Fitz, and he is actually, the book you're reading is his perspective of the events that happened, and everything after the prologue is then from the past. So it's weird, but I really enjoyed that aspect of it.
No,
'Cause
absolutely.
I haven't read a book that's done that. I
No.
don't think.
Or that I've read books that have tried to do it, but I haven't succeeded because I've always been like, oh, I'm reading about a character in a book. Whereas in this, I felt I was reading about a real person, which is
Yeah.
it's really
Because
clever.
it doesn't hide Fitz's flaws.
Yeah,
You know, he isn't the perfect hero at
no,
all by any
any
means. He
means.
is, and that's primarily because book one takes place between his age of I think 5 or 6 and 11 or 12, maybe 13, 14 at oldest. So
Oh, he definitely 14 because he fancied a 16-year-old girl. I remember there was that
mhm, mhm.
poet, and there was the older girl, and he was like,
Yeah,
she's two
yeah,
years my older. She's was he 12
yeah.
and she was 14 and she went off with a
No,
16-year-old? No,
14 and
because she went off
16.
with a
Yeah, yeah.
20-year-old, didn't she? Yeah. And
Um,
yeah, just that little
so
bit as well was so good.
it all develops. But to get into it properly, so I mean,
Some
to be fair,
structure.
that was a little introduction. So the book is written by Robin Hobb. There's a whole series. I think I've mentioned this before, but the one that we read is the initial book of the Farseer trilogy, and then you've got the Tawny Man trilogy, the Mad Ship trilogy, the Rain Wilds Chronicles, and the final trilogy. I can't remember what that one's collectively called. And the Mad Ship and Rain Wilds, they take place in the same world but in a different area. They mentioned the Rain Wilds and they will have mentioned Bingtown in the books, like Bingtown traders. Like it would have been like an offhand line.
Okay.
Um, but that's where those two books are set. I can't remember when it was released. It was quite a long time, not a long time ago, but I think I first read it in like 2016,
Okay.
probably a bit before, maybe before that because it was just after I left Aquarium, so maybe 2014, 2015, and yeah. So for me, I absolutely adore this book series. I've read it multiple times. The first time I read it completely out of order by accident. I read this book, and then I read book two. No, then read book one of the second series. I had no fucking clue
Uh,
what the hell was going on. Then I went. Then I think I read the third book in that series, in that trilogy, and then yeah. So I messed it up
realize
big
what
time
happened.
first time. Yeah, and it's a different sort of fantasy. Like it's like you said, it feels very very real because it doesn't.
Yeah.
It's it can't describe. It's hard to describe apart from it's very real because Fitz is a very depressed character. Later in the series, and the time period in which he's writing this series is just before the second series takes place. Um,
Okay.
so just before that series, he's in a deep dark place, sort of thing. Which I mean, a little bit of spoilers. Fitz survives. There's more books. Who
Yeah.
knew?
You figure it out pretty quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. So he doesn't shy away from talking about the bad parts of himself and like describing all the pretty horrible situations that he finds himself in because of who he is. Um, yeah, so I I've read it multiple times. So I really connect with it as a character because of all of his flaws. And
Yeah.
in reading this series, it helped me do a lot of introspection while I
Okay.
was reading it. And because it does have its nice positive parts, and there are some super positive parts in the books. Like book 3 of the next trilogy, I cry every time because the same part every time. I'm like, first time it was sort of like sad, happy tears, and then it's like it's coming, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. Yeah, it's one of those moments for me. Yeah, and yeah, I relate to Fitz quite a bit.
Yeah, there's some pretty heart-wrenching bits in this book as well.
Yeah,
Because of
very
that
much so.
realism and because of how the main character is treated a lot of the time because of who he
Hmm.
is, which I'm sure we'll get to.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but with that, it also, from an outside perspective looking in, it's interesting what you say because I can, although see that Fitz is as you say flawed to a degree. I think his biggest flaw is his own trust in himself, and there's a massive section of the book which is all about that, is not having faith in what he can
mm,
do and losing
yeah,
faith in what he can do, which
yeah.
I think is
Yeah. Book
a huge
one's
part of it.
yeah, very much so.
Yeah,
And to go into a bit more about Fitz, so he is the bastard son of the king in waiting of the six duchies.
yeah.
The king in waiting is like the crown prince, basically. When the king's first son, or no, I'm pretty sure they don't do paternal. I think it's just firstborn. Um,
Firstborn, yeah.
so when the firstborn becomes 16, they automatically become king or queen in waiting. There's no anything about it. Um, and then the king or queen at the time basically just fobs off whatever responsibilities they don't want to do are now that prince or princess's responsibility, and they
Yeah,
are de facto king. They have royal authority over the matters the king has said. Yeah, cool. You do what you want. Um, Obviously, the king will step in if they're a dickhead, sort of
yeah.
thing. And so yeah, so he is the son of chivalry. They all got mad names in the books, which is a whole thing. Might touch on a bit later. And the book opens without, as I mentioned, him talking about it's modern Fitz, but it opens with him being brought to a fort by his grandfather,
Paternal
who's like,
grandfather. Oh, maternal grandfather,
yeah,
isn't it? Sorry, not paternal.
maternal grandfather,
Yeah,
yeah, not and just like sort of handed over, like, yeah, cool. I raised this kid for a while. It's your fucking prince's mate. I ain't feeding it no more.
yeah.
Here you go.
No more money.
And Fitz at the time, he hasn't called Fitz at the time. Well, yeah, he is technically. He's named then and there by someone. Won't go to that. And yeah, he's sort of handed off, and then he is given to Burrich. He is where you're introduced to Burrich, who is probably the second. He's one of the secondary main characters. He's a very, very important character throughout the whole series. Um, who is Prince Chivalry's like his right hand dude. He's basically like but he is also the stable master for everything. He's just mad with animals. He's sick. And yeah, so he's then from this fort, he's brought to the main castle in Buckkeep, which is in the Buck Duchy, which is like a coastal city. It's built right on an actual like cliff face into the cliff face sort of thing. So you're like bridges, and it's a mad town. Yeah, and yeah, so he's then raised a bastard prince, basically. He is acknowledged by the king. So basically, this place is quite treacherous. Let's say there's lots of like
Yeah,
court nonsense that goes on, and if he hadn't been acknowledged by the king and adopted into the family, and be like, yeah, cool, all right, yeah, you're definitely his son, but we'll put you to use. The crown would worry that he could be used against them,
yeah,
sort of thing. So the king, when he sees him, takes him up and is like, right, yeah, okay, cool. I'm gonna give you this little pin badge. That means you're mine. I'm gonna feed you. I'm gonna take care of you, do everything, but you're mine. And he means it in a sort of loving way because
yeah.
you can see that it's his grandson, but he's like, all right, cool, you're still a bastard. Um, but yeah, so cool, but I'll look after you. And goes on from there. It's There's a few quite key plot points that there's a couple I think that you would want to bring up. So the first one's quite early, which is the doggy.
Oh, yeah. Well, so what Puck says, two parts with the dog, which are really vital, because the first is his ability to connect with animals, right? Um,
Yeah.
And that,
so this was the introduction of the first magic system.
yeah.
It's called the wit.
Well, it's sort of, yeah. And it isn't, what's really clever is it isn't introduced as a magic system at all, because you're
No.
getting it from his
No,
point of
it's
view. It's just as normal as needing to eat or breathing or
It's like,
drinking water.
oh, this
You can also chat
this
with
dog's
animals.
being bare nice to me. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like, oh, cool. This dog's being super nice to me. Oh, wait.
Like
I can
when
talk
you
to him with my brain.
when,
That's
when
cool.
you first read it, you don't even acknowledge fully whether it's happening or not, because it's so normal
Yeah.
to Fitz. And yeah, so with his character, he for a long time doesn't even acknowledge that he has a name given to him. When someone says, "What's your name?" he for a long while, even though he's had this throwaway name sort of given,
He's just boy.
he's boy. Yeah. Whereas the animals treat him as as like a person, if that makes sense, because they don't need to name him; they just sense his being, and he makes best friends with a dog. There's a, I know it's funny. I always called him Burrick, so it's funny that his name is Burrich, and I just got it wrong, and that makes so much more sense.
I might have never pronounced it right. But that's how.
Well, I always get the
never looked at, like,
pronunciations wrong, so I'm going to put my hands up. One day, maybe at the end, we'll get corrected completely from an audiobook that actually it's pronounced something completely different. But he isn't a fan of this wit. It's sort of seen as a dark sort of
it's
ability.
Like a dirty magic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he has his reasons behind it as well. He's seen bad things happen to people who have it, and he's seen people lose their mind who have it, and he explains all that. And so because of it, he refuses to let Fitz have this connection with an animal. So as far as you're aware, takes this puppy away, and he very quickly, Fitz loses that link with the puppy. And, because as for all intents and purposes, Burrich has ended this dog, has taken it away and dashed it.
The doggy is no more.
No, that's what we're led to believe.
And the wit doesn't get explored much in
Not at all.
book one. More so in the rest of the books, and then a lot more. Like the magic system becomes a lot more pronounced as it goes. It sets up more of the interpersonal relationships and settings and stuff in book one. It's got a bit of the magic, obviously, which we'll get on to.
But yeah, because the other thing that he has alongside with the wit, and I was always unsure, even by at the end of the book, if the thing there's another thing called the skill, which I'm not going to go into now because I'm sure we will. But Fitz, as well as seemingly able to communicate with animals, he also has the ability to kind of like force push, either with his emotions or he can hurt people with his mind, basically, and he finds out accidentally. But whether that's the skill,
that
or
is
something
a wit
else.
Power.
That's a wit power. Okay.
Yeah, repelling it. You repel with the wit.
Interesting.
He doesn't do it.
No,
don't find that out to like book one of the next trilogy or something. But it does get insinuated more that it's a wit ability, like in this book, and more so. So it is part of that.
Because the only reason why I questioned it is because it seemed like Burrich had some sort of an idea of that part of it in another way, because he sort of had the ability to sort of repel it a bit, this wit power. So that's why I wasn't sure if it was the skill by the time I'd finished the book. But there was that secondary, and that's it, right? It's mentioned a couple of times. It's not this big thing, and it had me questioning it, which is for books to come. It's a good seed of curiosity, and she's brilliant, Hobb, at doing that, just peppering in these seeds of possibility, and it's very, very good. Because the other thing that Fitz's dad, he isn't ever in the book. I mean, we always hear about this chivalry, his dad, but early off
he abdicates the throne because he's ashamed, because he was married at this point. He didn't have the child out of wedlock, but he was married afterwards. But he was still shamed by it. So he abdicated the throne and went to go live in a cottage with his wifey. But then he falls from his horse.
Very much led to believe
you don't really hear too much about it. There's some pepperings of it, and this all comes slightly shortly after Fitz is introduced to probably the next most important person in his life. Probably actually the most important person in his life. ever, who is Chade, which is Chade. And Chade is the royal assassin. And the king has decided that Fitz's use to the king is to train as Chade's apprentice. And he will be the knife in the dark, the king's justice. The king, like everybody, all like the lords of the duchies and the dukes, they all know the king has an assassin, and they all know that they're there to deal with their problems how they see fit. But sometimes things it could affect more than just their area, so they like petition the king to send out whatever he deems fit, which is often the royal assassin, who will not necessarily just kill someone. They won't just like straight off them. Chade is a mad crazy genius. We use all sorts of crazy poisons and herbs to maybe just debilitate someone, maybe cause something to happen in a few whatever, who knows, to alter the course of the events. Actually, there's two characters he's introduced to. One, the Fool. I'm just going to mention it because she is a super duper duper mega important character, but not touched upon a lot in book one. I don't want to go too much into it.
Touched upon enough.
Very, very. Yeah, he's in there. He's just like
he just
talks in riddles.
But the riddles are clear enough to understand that they are prophetic riddles.
Like, well, they're not. No, they're not clear at all until the event has happened.
To us as a reader, you can see that there's like, for example, at one point it says, "Don't eat of the things unless you want to die." And he's like, "Okay, there's going to be poison in the food." Like, for us as a reader, you know that's, unless I'm just using my ADHD superpowers.
I was talking more about like the dog one, where he's like fixes feist. Facts.
Oh, I never fixed that one. I know. Okay, yes.
Yeah.
Agreed. Not all the riddles are understandable.
He'll talk to him just all in riddles. Fitz has no idea what any of this stuff means. But yeah, so the Fool is very important, but it is a lot more important later on, so I don't want to touch too much on them.
Okay.
They're sort of an ethereal character.
Ooh.
Right. But Chade, takes Fitz under his wing, gives him all these training. Fitz has like got the mind for it. His all like the dexterity stuff that everything Fitz has a knack for. Eventually they he gets sent out to go on some missions. Not like super mega ones. It's just like maybe accompanying Chade somewhere, hidden under the guise of someone else. So there's Chade. Chade again, he gets touched on a bit, but not. I suppose actually it is in the book. There's a bit of a revelation in the book that Chade is actually also a royal bastard. He is King Shrewd's, who is the king's older brother.
Yeah.
Which is a bit mad that you think that Chade is the older brother, but King Shrewd is like super fucked. But that is because of King Shrewd is super fucked because of the second magic skill, which during his training as an assassin, Chade continuously petitions for Fitz to get trained in the skill, which is the royal magic, which in book one is just sort of used as a communication tool, mainly. It gets explored a lot more, but you can also sort of Jedi mind trick people with the skill. You can either do it like just by brute force, like you can you think this now, and if someone doesn't have the skill, that instruction is just gonna keep going in their head and in their head. Or you can just like make subtle suggestions to people, and they'll probably take those suggestions and go with that. Fitz's training with the skill is pretty horrific. His trainer is an asshole. There's lots of reasons for that, which again, I'm not going to go super into detail because I'm trying to keep this sort of spoiler free, but with intrigue. Like, not on the details. I don't want to go into super duper duper details. Touch on the topics.
Yeah.
But yeah, his trainer's an asshole. But he's not just an asshole to Fitz. He's extra asshole to Fitz. He's an asshole to everyone. Um, and Fitz fails the training, not through his own fault, sort of through his own fault, but the skill master, as he's called, Gallon, basically implants the suggestion into Fitz that he's going to fail and he's not going to be good enough to do it.
Mind rapes him.
Fitz is just, yeah, pretty much. He's just constantly questioning everything about himself. Can he do this? Can he do that? And that is all because of Gallon's skill suggestion. And then eventually suggests to Fitz to kill himself.
Yeah.
To throw himself off the tower where they've been training. And Fitz manages. I think that's after a severe beating as well. Like,
yeah.
Fitz kind of figures out the skill. Gallon's not figures it out, but has a good moment with it. Then Gallon fucks him up.
Because of that, really.
Yeah. Beats him down hard. And then implants this suggestion into him, which fucks him up for months and months and months and months, and even years to come.
Yeah.
In later books, he says when he's like standing on some peaks, he's like, "Oh, that the whisper of that suggestion is still there," sort of thing. So that's how it goes. How prove how fucked up that kind of sort of was.
He's saved by the wit, isn't he? That's something interesting about the wit is it can't all be bad, because he would be dead now if it wasn't for the wit, because he hears his dog crying out for him, saying, "Come to me, like I need food."
Yeah, so by this point he's had a new doggy, and the doggy's given to him by Patience, who it turns out Patience is his technically his stepmom, but not stepmom. It's Chivalry's wife, who comes back to the keep, and it's like, well, you know, it's basically my son. Fuck it, because
she's barren.
She's a nutty little old lady. Well, she's not an old lady at this point, but she
might as well be
nutty one. Yeah,
flowers in everything, like shoes and.
Yeah, she's crazy, but she's cool crazy. Like she's that crazy aunt that lives on her own with like 50 cats, but she's got loads of dogs instead.
Yeah,
and she gives Fitz a dog. Fitz hides it from Burrich because he's no longer like sort of staying with him. He's got his own place in the keep, his own room in the keep now, which connects up to Chade's little hidey hole somewhere else. There's like fucking tunnels going all the way through this book, of course. And his dog's love for him saves him from killing himself. He feels his need for some food and the affection coming from him. He's like, no, I can't abandon this. This life depends on me, and I depend on this life. And
gives him reason to keep going.
Burrich eventually finds him as well at this point, and he kind of clocks that, oh fuck, he's done it again. But all right, cool. And so nurses Fitz back to health. And then I like the fact that he goes and beats the shit out of Gallon. Oh, well, no, that was before. He beats the shit out.
No, it is after. So he Fitz gets the shit kicked out of him. Burrick sort of like, you had it coming, you used the wit, and I told you not to. And Gallon's found out, because Gallon is a hater of the wit and has already murdered a small child in the village who knew about it. And Burrick knows about that. And so has gone like, if he ever finds out, he's going to murder you. And as soon as Fitz turns around to Burrick and says, look, I wasn't using the wit, I just failed, I can't use the skill. And he's like, hold up, what? He killed you because you just can't do the thing that you wanted to do. Yeah, I'm not good enough. And that's when Burrick's like, no, fuck this. I'm taking him to the talking stones, or the called?
Stones.
The witness
stones. Gallon as the skill master has a certain level of comfort. And I don't think you find... I think it might be in book one, but so there's two other, just to preface, there's two other princes of the king. There's Prince Verity and Prince Regal. Verity is Chivalry's full brother. The same mum, same dad. Regal is by the second queen, who the king married after the first one died. Regal is sort of like a lot younger and a lot more like what you would expect he's Joffrey, but not quite.
I was about to say Joffrey, who's a bit older and maybe learned not to be such a dick.
Yeah, he's cleverer than Joffrey.
Yeah,
he's not so overt about how stupid trying to manipulate everything he is. And he's quite a clever guy. Verity loves Fitz because he's his brother's son. Doesn't like his uncle. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, you were there. Hey, he doesn't treat him badly, treats him nicely, but he's sort of like an afterthought to him because he is now king in waiting. Verity.
Yeah.
Regal's an asshole.
Total asshole.
Regal, Galen, and Regal have the same mum. He
You
is
find
their
out at the
half
end, don't
brothers.
you? Yeah, another
Yeah.
bastard. So from saying how unimportant, the reason you can see quite quickly why the king wanted Fitz so on his side is because bastards seem really important in this world because they're
They're
there.
kind of like they're Nephilim.
Yeah.
They're the best of both. You can use them. They've got the outward appearance, but you can use them however the fuck you want, and they can't say no.
They're royalty.
Yeah. So Galen wasn't ever acknowledged as any kind of royalty because his different dad from before, or whatever. But he does hold sort of a quite high place in court. And Burrich is a stable master of the keep. He also sort of does, but of the servants. But there is a place in all the duchies called the Witness Stones. Any man, any woman can take someone before the Witness Stones, and nobody can interfere. It's like a holy site. Burrich pulls him up to them Witness Stones, and Galen didn't stand a chance. You know, you got stable master with a bum leg just beats the shit out of this little pansy boy.
Yeah.
Basically.
They say he didn't even give him the op. So obviously Galen's supposed to be really in tune with the skill and this power to mind fuck people, and he does mind rape Fitz. But Burek does. They say something like he didn't even have the chance to breathe, to think, to use it before he got fucking obliterated.
Yeah. Burrich is known for in the keep for his black eyes and like his black temper, and that like it often is spoke of in the book. Burrich can silence a room with a look, sort of thing. I think it's like how you're introduced to him. He looks over almost. And then Fitz try again a little bit with the skill, but because of those suggestions by Galen, that is when it just sort of solidifies in Fitz's head that he can't do this.
Because he tests him, so alongside with everything that's going on. So I don't know if you've got this. Is the forging, right?
Yeah.
So that's like another side to everything that's going on in Buckkeep and stuff.
That's the events of the book, isn't it? So sort of that's sort of like the biggest story of the book. And of the trilogy as well is so the duchies are sort of like the mainland, and then there is also somewhere called the Out Islands, which they're basically the Vikings. There's a bunch of different clans of them. But there's one clan who have just taken up this very violent form of raiding. You know, the Dutch usually used to raiding as just part of life. You know, they defend themselves, whatever. People take a little bit, fuck off, because you come back and there's some more.
Yeah.
But these raiders are they're either killing people or they do something called, which is referred to in the book as forging, which is named after the first village that it happens to.
Yeah, forged.
And they basically take away all trying to
humanity
without spoiling. Okay, good.
I can explain because I don't know from an outside perspective. Cool. And what Fitz is quite clever because he sees it happening for the first time. He sees we're introduced to it through his eyes, and because he has the wit, he's able to talk to all animals. He's also able to sort of like push out a force field, if you like, and
he can
feel emotions.
You can sense, sense things. It's and he can't feel
these aren't on the radar.
They're like dead.
Yeah, they're zombie, like nothing. They're the same as a rock. They are.
Yeah,
they have no soul.
Thermal. Yeah. But they still have all the innate primal needs. They need to eat. They need things. They just desire everything. So, like, you could introduce a father who was forged back to his family, and he'd fuck up his wife to get the food that she was making, and even finish making for him. But no, he needed sort of thing. So that is sort of going on as this happening more and more regularly. There's more people going around, being forged, so to speak.
But the reason that falls in is because Galen, the final test, Galen's last attempt to kill Fitz is he drops him. All the kids get dropped off in a place. They're told to talk to each other using the skill and then come back. He will tell them what to do. And he drops him off. He does not. We know for a fact he never reached out to him. He never tried to reach him with the skill. It wasn't even that he was failing. And he drops him just outside Forge to hope that he will get attacked by the Forged. And that's when he notices. I think that's the first step into the final arc of the book, which is witnessing Burek get stabbed through his dog's smithy, isn't it? Through his eyes, and then feeling his life link sort of die.
Yeah, and Smithy getting as well.
Brutally.
That's sort of why Burrich forgives Fitz for that one, because he knew, damn, that dog weren't a bad dog. And
but that does cause a big gap between Burek and.
It does. Oh yeah, no, he doesn't forgive him for that. He's like,
no,
you're.
That's the first
sort of like disowns.
So for the next third of the book, their relationship is gone. He says, "Never come back, never talk to me. You've always been honest with me, so I'll believe you if you come back and you say you're stopping it, but you're not stopping it. You said you would, and I will not associate with someone who is dirty like you are."
Who's doing this?
It's like proper religious rhetoric that's in his head that just by being left-handed, you're evil, and I can't until you start using your right hand. I'm not listening to you anymore. That's
exactly. Fitz sort of then at this point throws himself into his other duties. He starts interacting with Verity more, not a lot more, but a bit more, and the Fool a little bit more as well. And this is where he also gets sent out to do his first bit of solo King's Justice, right?
He's done a bit of it previously. There was like a little test.
He went with Lady Time,
who he didn't know who Lady Time was, so that was a good introduction.
That's one of Chade's personas.
Stinky pissy old lady.
So this is one where he gets sent out to do it himself, because it's after Forge again, to him. Forge. He gets sent to test. There's some lady like stirring up trouble in one of the duchies, and one of the dukes asked him to. Oh no, that's later on.
I was gonna say I don't know.
No, that might be the start of book 2.
I think that could be. So in terms of his solo missions, after seeing Forge, he then gets sent off to kill loads of Forge in different ways and things like this.
He's like leaving out packages of poisoned
food and stuff. They're testing his abilities. They are working him a bit more. He's becoming a bit more vital to the. He keeps getting pulled in with interviews with Verity and stuff, and that's where he learns that he has been mind raped by Galen, and people start to see just how bad Galen is. He's always known to be a dick by Verity and them, but that's the moment where even the king is like, my eyes are on him. Like the seed has been sown that he's going to be one of the bad guys in the book, if you like.
And then we come to the end. Fitz is sent off to. So Regal has arranged the marriage for Verity. And there's a whole little situation that goes down there with the prince being told that the prince of that area being told that he's going to be assassinated by someone.
It's very clever.
Them figuring it out and Fitz being like, yeah, cool, no, I'm not going to, just so you know. And then there's a whole little them joking about drinking the poison together, and turns out they both got poisoned. Really fucked everybody. Everything sort of ends okay for everybody apart from Fitz and Burrich. Fitz is fucked.
What?
You just leave the book with the dude like, basically disabled.
I don't know. So where I ended it, he gets to that point, does he? So through the poisoning and through all this stuff, he is very much hurt. So a really nice touch to that is he is introduced to a dog that the prince had, and that dog is Nosy. It's the first dog. So Burek didn't kill the dog; he took the dog as a gift later on to this prince. And he ends up saving the day. the dog, which is like a nice tie around to the
Yeah,
start of the book,
yeah, yeah,
because
yeah,
Fitz would
yeah.
have died without him. You find out later he's still got scars on his hand where this dog saved his life. But yeah, he is basically completely and utterly potatoed. You're not supposed to come back from this poison, are you? It's supposed to be like a
No,
sip and
no,
you're done.
it's a 99.9% kill rate.
Yeah, and he drank
You got
enough.
25 kill streak nuke. Someone survived under a riot shield sort of thing somehow.
And you get the
Yeah,
hint that this is how things are going to go for Fitz from the character of Chade is pockmarked. He is like his skin is hurt
yeah.
and he's destroyed, and he's like older, way beyond his
That
years and things like this.
it's funny. It's because Chade likes explosives. He
That's
likes
the
things going boom.
But you in the line of work as an assassin, you're going to end up with scars and
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
cuts
yeah,
and
yeah.
people trying to kill you and surviving poisons. You're
Yeah.
taught
So the
what to
pock
do,
marks are. It does touch on those. There was an accident he
and it
had
yeah
where he
exploded.
still. Yeah, that's why he became the royal assassin,
Oh,
because he
was
had
it?
to take a step back from. He
Oh,
wasn't ever
I
like
missed that bit.
a prince, but he was. This is a little bit from book 2, so I don't want to go too much into it. But it is he was. It does say that he says that
Because
something
yeah,
about
the
I
pot
had this
mark,
accident.
yeah, it's touched on because at Forged they do find some real people who have run away from the Forged ones, the people who actually lived there, and they call
Yeah,
Shade the
but
Pocked Man, and so
the
that's
pox
Pocked,
face man.
yeah, which causes Fitz to ask about
That's
it,
sort of like an urban legend
and he
anyway,
just
which
yeah,
is it's like like hundreds and hundreds of years old legend from that
he's just
place.
like, no, I just burned myself. Sorry, that's all this is.
Yeah, it's just it's coincidence, but it's a coincidence
Yeah,
that Shaders looks like that, and that person signifies death
yeah,
in the land.
it's funny.
Yeah, I love Chade. Chade's a cool character. I love where is the Chade's test for Fitz in book 1.
The King's knife or the
The
King's
knife,
item,
yeah,
and
yeah.
that bit.
That was a quite poignant bit. Like Fitz gets mentally pulled so many different ways. And he doesn't know. He's like, because he's a child, he just doesn't know the right answer. Like him wanting to be super loyal to the guy that's training him and like taking him as must see as sort of like a grandfatherly figure to his actual granddad, who he's like, no, but I'm not loyal to you. You told me not to be loyal to you, but I want to be, but I am. But you told me not to, and he told me not to. But you're telling me now too, and
Because yeah,
it sort of gives you the first taste into the like mental gymnastics Fitz has to go through for the position that he's in. There's nobody else that he could talk to that can relate to him.
no.
Like no one. Apart from Chade could sort of, but wouldn't, because they don't get to just like talk all the time. They get their little lessons, and he's like, "Okay, cool, bye. I'll see you in a couple of weeks." So Fitz is a very, very lonely guy. Like he doesn't have basically anyone. You know, Burrich, yeah, he's sort of a fatherly figure, but he's got Molly, who is like who's the love interest.
You're even
But he
told at the
doesn't
end,
really like have anyone.
because even Burek, who he has, you learn at the end that he has always been scared of him deep down because he killed the connection with Nosy, and he's believed that he killed his dog. So even though he has since then been and there's a conversation between Burek and him, and Burek's like, "Of course you've never understood me. Of course there's been a barrier. You thought I killed your dog. Like I understand why you'd hate me. Fuck. Why have this never come up? I wish I'd made it clearer. I did not kill your dog. I didn't want you to think I'd killed your dog. That wasn't the intention. I took it away. Why did you think that?"
It shows
so
like
touching.
the emotional scars that
trusting and
from something like that.
You've been abandoned from a child. Your mother abandoned you. He doesn't have a memory of his mum.
And this is the first person that sort of cared for you, and you're like, okay, maybe I'm safe here. It's oh shit, no, you just killed that thing because my brain did something. Oh fuck that, man! And even the Barracks is like, how can you even think that I did that? I mean, damn, like you've got to know me with these years, and you didn't think once it didn't cross your mind that I wouldn't have killed that dog. how I treat animals and everything like that.
Yeah,
It,
it's touching
like
because we all
even with
believed
all
it
of
too.
that, yeah, absolutely.
I didn't
Like
question
even
it.
on the reread, I was like, I've forgotten about Nosy. I was like, oh man, shit, poor dog. Yeah, it's what else? Yeah, him getting the mind rape by Galen, and then the one girl that he thought he was in love with. Like, oh man, she's chatting to a sailor. Who the fuck's this? Who's this
Yeah,
guy? What?
that was really sad. He brings her flowers, doesn't he? And I felt that I had that touch of knowing that feeling when you think there's someone who's maybe interested in you. You see them from
Yeah,
afar walking off with someone else, and you just left
yeah,
empty. And he's lost everyone at that point as well because he lost Smithy because he had
yeah.
gone. Burek won't talk to him anymore. Shade is way too busy trying to keep Verity alive. So he gets that next.
He's
He's always
basically
searching for
got
connections.
he's basically got patience and Verity that he doesn't. He never has anyone his age.
No,
Like you'd have thought that, like he sort of thinks before when he starts learning the skill. Oh, these other people, maybe we'll think we'll be no.
they all hate him.
They all hate you too. So he's not. So Fitz is actually a term that is. So his full name is actually Fitz Chivalry, right?
Fitz Chivalry something, isn't it?
Fitz Chivalry Farseer. So
Yeah,
that's the
thank you.
surname
That's
of
it.
of the role line.
Fitz Chivalry Fast, yeah.
Fitz is basically you're called a Fitz if you're a bastard. So his name is he's just constantly called bastard all the time. Like there's some people that don't even refer to him as Fitz. They
just call him
the
bastards.
Fitz. Yeah, or bastard. Like
Yeah.
Regal just calls him bastard.
Some refuse to even acknowledge the nicknamed bastard because they want to, which is mad because even the bastards are doing that. Galen is a fucking bastard. Like, oh.
I love how just like real, like you said, how Fitz feels real. But I love how like everything feels real. Like there's all these little things going on in the court, like just him going to get some clothes and having a chat with the people in the in the kitchens, going into the guard room and having dinner. Like it doesn't just explore little bits. It's got all these little tiny characters that you have basically no consequence on the story, but the people that make him feel at home. And he's got a real struggle of living between those worlds because he wasn't raised to be royal, but he's now been thrown into that sort of little role. But to escape that, he wants to hang out with the servants and still be a real boy, I guess. And just for all of that to be so compact into that one little book, there's just. I mean, I say little book. It's not a little book.
It is a little book though. How much she gets in there, it's amazing. And each interaction that he has and that we hear about is so vital to his character. It's amazing. You're constantly being drawn back to the kitchen, which just shows, I think, how no matter what happens to him, his feet are always on the ground with the base people of the castle, the kitchen, the heart of Bucky. Yeah, he lives in the heart.
Those just the descriptions of just like the basic foods,
bread and cheese. I love my bread and cheese.
The end of a warm loaf with some freshly salted butter, and the end of a sharp wedge of cheese. I'm gonna make a cheese sandwich, bro. Let me go find something. If we eventually read some more of these, or if you've ever read more of them, or we do a later one, we can go into a bit more of Fitz's flaws because they get more explored in book 2 and 3 of this series. Book 2, I think book 2 and 3. I haven't finished book 2 again yet, so I'm still getting up to it. I think it might be mainly book 2 and 3. Yeah, I mean, obviously he does have some flaws. But it's the result of his upbringing and just it's hard to describe without. Sorry, busy. It's hard to fully describe. In all honesty, it's just an experience. Fits his life.
Yeah, it is.
Hearing about it is different to reading it. Because reading it, you sort of experience it alongside him. And you're like, holy shit, man, Jesus. But I think that also fits the slower pacing of the book,
Yeah.
which is one of the criticisms. Is one of the not wider criticisms. It is one of the criticisms I'd have of the book. Is it's slow, but it's what needs to be slow as
Yes.
well.
It's not about
Otherwise,
rushing through it. It's
no.
it's taking it by slow. His life was all there. There are some really big key events that we're learning about, but this covers years as well.
Yeah,
It's a short
it's
book
like
that
nearly 10
covers years.
years.
Yeah, so it's still picking out key parts of his life, but it's because it fits his life generally, and it's the important thing is for a long time. So there could be like 6-7 months. It's the same thing. He's going out cleaning horses. Nothing happens in his
Yeah,
life. And
yeah,
it's important to drop that in. Like, yeah, stuff does happen, but he will have just spent a year learning how to raise all the animals and get really good with it.
yeah,
Okay, like you don't need any more. There's nothing big
yeah.
happening. That's it.
If Yeah, it was just like life went on in Buckkeep. I continued my trips down to the town to hang out with the kids when I
Yeah,
could, and the rest of the time I was fucking cleaning horses, bruv.
and then it was like, and
There
then
weren't much to tell there.
after a year, something did happen, and we got caught.
Yeah,
And it's like the moments of key parts of his life are told in the book. They're
yeah,
not skipped over. It's not like something big happened
no,
then, and I won't tell you about it. Meeting
yeah,
Patience, meeting the girl where he realizes he doesn't have to kill as an assassin every time to get the mission done. I mean, he knows that. He's told it
yeah,
before every
yeah, yeah,
mission. You decide, which is why the end mission is so important. Because throughout all the missions, he is told, you decide at the end of the day. It's
yeah.
your choice
He's
to
the
make
king's
there and then.
justice, but he still has a decision to make, which is crazy.
Yeah.
It's one of the things I always felt like, as an aside, one of the things I always found fucking crazy about Naruto. You send like 11-year-old children out on assassination missions. It's a lot darker than you think.
Yeah. But it's like, if this is what we've been told, go out and this guy is not doing his job. So when you get there, if you can find out why, fix
Figure
it.
out why. Yeah.
But if you can't figure out why, end him. Your choices at the end of the day. And he does. He finds out that he's got a new girlfriend and he can't get it up. So he's spending all the money trying to keep her happy. And so he talks to the girl and basically, well, luckily falls, because he does have a lot of luck on his side as well, Fitz. And falls into hapstance that he meets her, talks to her, has a human conversation with her, and she then becomes one of the most loved women in court because of this tiny conversation with an 11-year-old boy.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I love the foreshadowing and stuff in this book as well, because there's a lot of it. There's a lot hidden in plain sight as well. I'm gonna give you one, which is it's one of the pre-chapter bits, and it's really weird because the first time I read this, I just knew that it was important, and it is one where Fitz is describing a ceremony that happens to him, where men gather and they give you a name.
Yeah.
And the name that he's given, he's called Changer, he's called Catalyst. That's a super duper important part of the whole story. And for her to drop that, not him being named that just felt important to me. It has nothing to. That ceremony has nothing to do. It doesn't give Fitz anything. It's just it's like being inducted into the Freemasons or whatever.
Yeah.
He's just, the ceremony has happened. So, and it is pure happenstance that he is named Changer. He is named Catalyst.
But what's interesting as well is I have been pulled to that start pre-chapter little bit before, because near the end, because my mind looks for things to re-pick up, and the fool says to him, like, the reason I'm keeping you alive, why you think I keep trying to help you, because while you stay, I don't care about you, but while you stay alive, there are much more opportunities for us with you alive than with you dead.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know any of it. And knowing that how big these books get, I'm like, fucking hey.
Yeah, that gets explored a lot more later down the line, especially in the second. That gets explored a lot more in the second trilogy. And then explodes in the third trilogy, goes ham on it, in the third Farseer trilogy. But yeah, that sort of stuff plays a major role in the second trilogy. It's super good. I fucking loved it.
When we sort of come towards the end of these podcasts that we've been doing, the Beyond Wars Book Club, I really like to take a look back and look back on the book as a whole, as a whole piece, because a lot of them, I think all of them that we've read so far, are a book in a series. we've read the first book of a series, and so I always like to take a look at it. How do I feel walking away with that as a self-contained book? So the first book in the Mistborn series, I felt could be walked away very much self-contained book. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Dungeon Crawler Carl, I feel it did fail at that as being a self-contained. It was a good book, but it did not have an end. It had a beginning and a middle that carried on going because the end hasn't happened yet. This, I felt, again, like Mistborn, was more self-contained. It leaves a lot of threads that are dangling.
Yeah.
You've got the forgings, you've got the power system, you've got his relationship with the rest of the kingdom. I could walk away and be happy. I could.
I see that as I see Assassin's Apprentice as one huge prologue.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. It's self-contained. All the threads. There's so many threads that are left in there dangling, but there's so many that are like throughout the book. Threads are finished.
Yeah.
Like story points are finished. So you do get this nice gradual character development of a lot of people, and then it comes to a head.
Yeah.
And it's not a crazy thing that happened. Like it all happens over like 6 pages, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Ends. In the end, it's very like the last chapter. The Sanderlange. I was like, oh, this has happening in the last tiny 10 pages.
It's just conclusion.
Yeah.
And you're done. And it does give you a little bit of like, well, afterwards he was blah blah, I was blah 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 blah, but not a lot. And so eventually I made it back to Buckkeep. And then there's going to be more things that are going to happen.
Life went on. And it does, and you can read about it if you want to.
This was just another 6 months in the life of Fitz. Like, it's just another thing that happened.
Like, if the relationship between him and Burek is, for all intents and purposes, fixed as well as it can be, which they both say. We will not agree on some things, but let's agree to not agree.
Respect.
Yeah, now we know I didn't kill your dog, and now I know why you've always treated me like I killed your dog. The relationship he has with the king is cemented because he's shown to be useful in as much as he can be with that final decision.
Because with the king, not so much. Because at this point...
I misspoke. Verity, the king. The king waiting. Grandad. I've never understood that relationship.
Verity are always cool. With the king, he's sort of like a bit torn because he thinks the king's discarded him at that point. He gave him to Regal to use as he saw fit. I was like, oh shit, am I fucked? Because I said all this was cool. None of the stuff that I actually said to the king got sent back to the king, and all I got back was, listen to the prince.
That was sad.
I mean, but what he's doing is right. He's so conflicted and pulled again because of other people. What else was?
Is there anything else you want to touch on? I think again that's been a good book description. He touched on some really important bits. Haven't given everything away. There is still a lot there.
I would say things don't get better. Well, things don't get better for Fitz.
Oh,
Spiral. Just isn't it? Spirals into addiction. Into alcoholism.
You get glimpses of that.
Yeah, and so one of the important things to take from the character development of Fitz in this book is before he goes to the Mountain Kingdom, he is very much a bastard. He's not seen as royalty, anything like that. He's not a royal. He's a bastard son of them. He's like, okay, cool, he's there. When he goes to the Mountain Kingdom, he is treated a bit with more respect by those people. They have a completely different culture, very, very different culture. Mountains, their kings and queens are known as sacrifice. They're in charge, but they're selfless. Madly. The power doesn't corrupt there somehow. I think it's sort of like everyone keeps each other in check, but they see Fitz again as, they actually treat him as a royal, like the son of a prince. Yeah. And that's an important thing, because this is where it's a big change in character for Fitz, because when he's in the mountains, he starts talking more like a royal, like giving people not orders, but he has to carry himself with the weight of it. Because being royalty, your words have weight and everything like that. And when he comes back to Keep, he's got to try and remember that he's not that. But he is also being treated as that by other people. But yeah, so there's the intrigue and court stuff gets more. Just everything. Book 2 amps up everything from book 1, and then you meet. I lied when I said Shade was the most important person in Fitz's life. You meet the most important person in Fitz's life in book 2.
Oh wow.
Yeah. That's super cool. Yeah, and that's the Royal Assassin or Assassin's Apprentice.
Assassin's Apprentice.
That's the next one.
Good
That's
book.
the next one if you want to read it. 10 out of 10 for me. I love it.
Yeah, I'd give it a good 9 out of 10. The one point I drop off is the ending, because that's the first time when I feel like I was just Regal's character. I felt if he'd have been a bit more human, he was so royal, so cliche, so dickhead. He had to be, I know that, but I think she could have done better.
He's not really touched on as a character a lot. He's just some bad shit's going to happen, and he's just like the plot device for bad stuff to happen. You do get a better character development for him, and he does. There's a lot of there's some quite funny character development for him. He is like the stereotype as well, but he's a bit cleverer with it, I think.
The point it drops for me, and the only bit is just because he's a bit 2D from the end of this book. Yes, he's clever, but he gets away with everything, and he just it's just.
But he touches on that though, doesn't he? He's like, that's why I do it, because no one says anything. Like you say, yeah, cool. There's these laws. Watch, bang! I'm gonna kill my nephew. Who's gonna do anything? Do you actually think they're going to do anything?
I'm literally going to kill everyone. I'm putting my own, but he goes against the king, and it's because of his mum and all this stuff. And it's just like
he plots to kill his own brother.
Yeah, he gets away with it. Everyone knows what he's doing. Everyone knew what happened.
Yeah, but that's the point, because he says, "Well, everyone knows what I'm doing, and they don't stop me. So if they don't stop me,
I'm going to keep doing it.
Let's just keep doing it."
Yeah,
until eventually I'll win.
Yeah,
eventually one of these times it will work. So he's 2D, but he not self-aware of it, obviously, but he does touch on it to a degree, and it's like, well, none of you are going to do anything. I'm going to show you that I can get away with it.
I think because I hate that kind of a character so much when they're in a book, I just want them to get their comeuppance. Oh yeah, no, absolutely, and Gallon's to be there like his little lapdog the whole time, doing everything, all his bidding, wanting him to be successful.
It's more his mum. His mum, ever since he was a child, just stuck it into his head. No, you're the more royal of the two, and he just
you're special.
Yeah.
Yeah, strong book. 9 out of 10. I'd still say is like a book I'd recommend to everyone. Good. There's no one I would recommend this to, and I will recommend it to people again. Moving on to the next book before we touch on what we discussed as the elephant in the room. So I've been finding it hard. I've got China Melville and Keanu Reeves' Book of Nowhere, or I think it's called Book of Elsewhere. Now that one's been one I keep wanting to do, but I tried reading the first little bit just to be like, is this, because I don't want us to read complete duds. It's very hard reading. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have that on the back burner and maybe bring it up again. When I say hard reading, it's like it has its own language. And I don't know, I struggle. I don't know if I want to personally read anymore. So another one that I've been wanting to, and it's been on my list for ages, and it's only a few quid on Kindle, and I think it's been around for a while, so we'll be able to get it if not. And it's a book that has ties with one of my all-time favorite animes, and we'll find out whether or not it does. And that's A Canticle for Leibowitz. So it's an old sci-fi masterworks book.
I know the book you mean.
Canticle for Leibowitz.
It's Oda's inspiration. Isn't it?
That's what they say. So Walter M. Miller Jr. I don't just want to read because apparently it's good. It's apparently a good book.
Yeah, I've heard it's a decent.
It's got 4.5 stars. out of 3,500 reviews, and that's just this version of the book on Kindle. 354 pages, not a big one, really, considering the stuff we read. So that's going to be the next one. Go down a bit of a sci-fi route. It's nice to jump from fantasy to other things with a little bit of
my next one's a bit fantasy.
There you go, it works.
Yeah, so
it works. So yeah, Canticle for Leibowitz, and I think it's been out for ages. This book, it's a very old book. I think like 60s, 70s,
right?
Oh yeah, could be 50s actually. So it's an interesting perspective. I always love looking at historical picture and a historical view on future occurrences, if that makes sense. So that's that. And then the elephant in the room. Why I look haggard as fuck. We've been playing a lot of Monster Hunter Wilds. A lot. I've streamed a lot of video games.
Very good, man.
I'm fully in.
Blown away.
Thinking about it. I woke up very late today. Full
I
spoilers.
woke up and my PlayStation was straight on. I really couldn't see anything. Where's my controller? I know it's over there somewhere. Hold on, go and make coffee.
Normally we do these recordings at 11 o'clock on a Sunday, and I woke up today at 11:30 from a text from you being like, "Hello, are we gonna record?" And I was, oh yeah. I went to bed at 4:30 last night because I was playing video games.
when I got on and I saw initially that I was like, well, how far did he get? I'm going to see how many extra trophies he's got than me. I was like, I saw you got one at 3 a.m. and I was like, all right, okay, it's 7. I'm not going to message him now. I'll wait a couple of hours. And then the ticks didn't go blue, so I was like, right, I'm going to send another one. And then I'm gonna preface it by pretending that maybe I hadn't finished the book and we could talk about Monster Hunter instead. I was gonna keep poking in a different way.
I should have just rang me and slap me.
And then
I wake up.
No, it's cool, bro. You gave me more time to play Monster Hunter.
Fair. Which is what I'm gonna do next. As soon as we stop this, I'm playing Monster Hunter. Yeah. Next week's episode, it will be in person, and I think even though Ken's gonna be here. We'll maybe get him to
can give us some some of his freedom.
Yeah,
we can talk about Monster Hunter and then have a big.
It will be about Wilds, but he can ask us questions based on what he knows and things like that. It'll be exciting. Big Monster Hunter Wilds blowout.
He can play your character in the background as we're going and be like,
he ain't touching my character. Yeah, touching my character.
Or he can create his.
Yeah, well, I'll give him the PS Portal. He can create a new character, and off he runs on his merry way.
Yeah, we'll get some footage of him playing.
Haha, he plays on Steam Deck, and we do have so much footage. I don't know how we're going to get it onto YouTube, but I did a big 7-hour stream. The first official day it was out. Did a 2-hour prequel the day before it came out. And then yesterday, across the whole day, streamed almost 10 hours worth of footage. So,
genocide.
Yeah. Finished the chapter 3, which takes you to the first game credits. That means nothing in a Monster Hunter game. But now we're into the high. What are we in now?
We are at high rank. We finished low rank.
Low rank's done. Now we're in high rank.
Now we're basically doing it all over again with some variants mixed in, which is I'm intrigued because it seems like there's
the Guardians
going to be 3. Well, yeah, so there's Guardian monsters, but they're just the clones, right? They're Mewtwo.
Just clones.
They're Mewtwo Pokemon.
Nuclear clones.
Well, that thing was Mewtwo, basically. They copied the fucking Mewtwo Returns or Mewtwo Strikes Back, whatever, right?
It comes out of his thing.
And so there's them. I'm just counting them as normal monsters because there's not like the regular version of. Oh no, there is.
There is
regular Rathalos.
Rathalos, yeah.
So okay, yeah, there's Guardian monsters. Then you've got frenzied monsters. You've got tempered monsters.
Yeah.
And then there's a step beyond tempered as well, which is there's ones. So there's tempered monsters which has survived lots of battles, but then there's like the pinnacle of tempered monsters. So there's ones that have really, really survived a lot of battles, and like to the point where something about them will have changed. I think
it's brilliant.
I know there's a Rathian in the game that's like that. It's a crazy Rathian.
And getting to the point now where the missions are requiring you to fight multiple monsters at the same time is really cool. And it showed just how tired I was, because one of my last battles last night was in the arena, but they don't call it the arena, which threw me. And the amount of times I threw a dung pod at this animal, being like, "Why isn't it not going? Why? I'm in an arena. Oh, that's why. Look, I'm here. Everyone run away. Nowhere to go." Fuck! I just kept throwing shit at it. I was so tired.
There's been some really like good, cool moments in it. Yes, earlier on, I was having a conversation. I finished a cat mission. I was having a conversation with him, and he was like, "So Wilds is definitely in the same world as World." And
Same
I mean, obviously
world
they're all in the
as
same
World.
world. Yeah, and it's a sequel. Is afterwards. The cat says to you, "I heard about this gadget when I was in the new world, and the Grimalkins used to use it to steal from monsters." So he's talking about the Plunderblade from World, and he learnt about it from he was in the new world. So our cat has come from our last game, sort of, in a weird way. He's not our cat from the last game, but he's a cat from the last game.
I mean, oh yeah, we need to stop very much because we could talk about this forever. What I really liked the story part of this game, and I want to go play.
Yeah,
but the story, from what you hear online, you're going to hear a lot of people, I think, poo-pooing the game. Play low rank for what it is: a low-ranked introduction to the game, to the monsters, to the world. It's not the game yet.
That wasn't the point.
Not the game.
That wasn't the point of the game.
No,
it was.
It's an introduction, and it's a prologue. It is a fucking great big prologue.
They just slapped a story on it instead of you going to a board and putting up a quest.
Yeah.
Relax. Now you're going to a board and putting up quests. It's still there.
And you always
say that little Natter kid is so annoying.
It's fine. It's just what it is.
Oh god! Towards the end, where he was like, "No, you can't kill the Arkfield." Don't make me shove my gun lance up your ass.
Yeah, that was annoying. But I got his path. I had problems with the whole race of people who've lived underground for millions of years, and yet they're not see-through.
Like how? 1,000 years.
I thought he said no. They said a millennia.
No, yeah, a millennia is 1,000 years.
Is it?
Yes. Joe.
Wow, that was me learning something. Why do they call it fucking millennia then? Sounds like millennium. I was going to say they've been under there, and the time I didn't get, because there's a point when we go back to the doesn't matter. Sorry, there's things that confuse me about the story. Overall, I
loved that final fight, and one thing I said to you before, I love that you are an experienced hunter in this. You were selected to go specifically on this mission because you are some badass wandering hunter that just goes from place to place and fucks shit up. And at the end, where he's just like, he's going to use the pendant, and like you knew it was coming. The anime moment. There's another way, dude. In my head, Proof of a Hero started playing. It didn't play. That's the one thing that got me. That's why I get some 9.8. Didn't play Proof of a Hero.
Yeah, for me so far, a 10 out of 10 game.
Gemma hums it when she's making weapons. She when she's making a weapon next time, she hums that song. So I like that. I lay it off. That gets 10 again now.
If you are on the fence about Monster Hunter, don't just take our word for it. Just try it. I know it's an expensive thing to try, but you'll love it.
I would say it does have a couple of performance issues, even on PlayStation. I have had some frame rate drops. For me, I don't care about that sort of stuff. I know for some people that's a big thing. PC, I just wouldn't.
No, don't touch on PC.
I mean, you can, obviously. You can change your settings, and I'm sure there are very good ways to play it, but I wouldn't. I would just get it on the console. Console. I think I've had like a handful of frame rate drops. So that's about it.
And if you want to take anything, with this as a recommendation for the game, is obviously how much we've played already, just how much I played last night, and the fact we're about to say goodbye right this second so we can go play more. So until next time, I've been Beyond, Joe.
And I'm going to see you in Monster Hunter. See you later. Bye.
See you very soon.